It's kind of wild when you think about how quickly jobs can change. One minute you're the assistant regional manager, the next minute the company restructures, and you're suddenly pursuing new opportunities, also known as scrolling LinkedIn in your pajamas. The world moves fast. Technology, markets, AI. Everything's evolving like a toddler on an espresso shot. But here's the truth bomb. Your job might change, but your growth doesn't have to. The title on your name badge can vanish, but the person you've become through learning, curiosity, and effort, that's permanent. That's your real resume. Think about it. Every job you've ever had was like a season in a long-running show called your life. Some seasons were comedy, others were definitely drama, and a few felt like survival reality TV. But the character development, is the part that endures. Every challenge, every mistake, every weird boss who made you question your sanity, they all shaped your growth. Jobs might come with expiration dates, but personal evolution? That's a lifetime subscription. We live in a world where job titles are like trending hashtags. One day you're a social media manager, the next you're a digital engagement architect. And next year, it'll probably be something like chief meme strategist. The point is, jobs evolve, vanish, and reinvent themselves constantly. But if you keep learning, asking questions, and expanding your skill set, you'll never go obsolete. Because growth isn't something you clock in for, it's something you live by. You've probably seen it. People clinging to their roles like it's their identity. I'm a manager, that's who I am. No, buddy, that's what you do. Who you are is the person behind that title, the one who shows up curious, learns from every setback, and turns problems into playgrounds. The real growth happens in the moments you're uncomfortable, figuring things out, asking dumb questions that lead to smart answers. That's the kind of learning no layoff can take away. You know what's funny? Curiosity is like a superpower that never expires. It's the one thing that can keep your brain fresh even when your job feels stale. It's what makes you say, what's this button do? Instead of, that's not my job. It's the difference between people who adapt and people who complain that things aren't like they used to be. Spoiler alert, they never will be. The world doesn't wait for anyone, but it always rewards those who grow with it. Let's get real for a second. We've all been told to focus on your career, like it's this sacred path paved with promotions and 401(k)s. But if the pandemic, AI, or the economy has taught us anything, it's that careers are unpredictable. Whole industries can change overnight. That's not failure, that's just the new normal. What actually matters is what you carry forward when the job disappears, your adaptability, your mindset, your hunger to learn, your creativity. Those aren't just professional tools, they're survival tools for modern life. Imagine your personal growth as your backpack. Every lesson, every challenge, every skill you pick up goes in there. You might switch companies, switch industries, heck, even switch entire careers, but that backpack goes with you. Every time you get curious about something new, you're adding another piece of gear that'll help you climb the next mountain. You can lose a paycheck. You can lose a title. But you can't lose what you've learned. The world doesn't reward people who know everything. It rewards people who want to keep learning. The curious ones. The ones who stay humble enough to say, teach me. The ones who aren't afraid to start over at level 1 when everyone else is scared to leave level 10. The funny thing is, those are the people who end up leaping the farthest. Because when you stop growing, it doesn't matter how high your job title sits, your potential's already shrinking. Ever notice how some people seem lucky when new opportunities fall into their lap? It's not luck. It's preparation meeting curiosity. They've been quietly upgrading themselves all along, reading, exploring, building skills, while others were just polishing their business cards. So when a new door opens, they don't need luck. They've already built the key. Now let's talk about identity for a sec. A lot of people tie their worth to what they do. I'm a doctor, I'm a teacher, I'm a CEO. But jobs can be taken away. Identity shouldn't be something that can be deleted with a pink slip. You're not your job. You're the mindset that got you there, the late-night learner, the problem solver, the one who turned chaos into progress. That's who you really are. The real game isn't about job security, it's about growth security. It's about becoming so good, so adaptable, so endlessly curious that no change in the market can shake your foundation. When you grow, you become the asset. You stop chasing security and start creating it. Because no one can downsize your mindset or outsource your curiosity. And yeah, growth isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it looks like confusion, mistakes, or rejection. Sometimes it's you realizing you've been doing something the wrong way for years. But that's okay. That's the tuition fee for wisdom. Every mistake teaches you something you couldn't learn from success. The trick is to stay open, stay curious, and keep going. So the next time your job feels shaky or your career takes an unexpected left turn, remember this. You're not losing your place. You're just being rerouted to a new lesson. Life isn't about climbing one corporate ladder. It's about building a staircase that never ends. Every new experience, every weird twist, every awkward learning curve, they're all just steps leading to a smarter, stronger, wiser version of you. In the end, titles fade, companies close, industries evolve, but who you become through curiosity and learning, that's permanent. That's your legacy. The growth you build today is the one thing no economy, no boss, and no algorithm can take from you. So keep learning, keep asking, keep stretching yourself. Because jobs may change, but your growth? That's forever yours. And if you ever start to panic because the job market's shifting or your title sounds outdated, just laugh and remember, even dinosaurs once ruled the earth, and look how that turned out. Adaptation beats extinction every time. Keep growing, keep evolving, and you'll never be left behind, because while the world keeps changing, you'll always be one step ahead, armed with the best skill of all, the ability to learn, unlearn, and grow again. Let's be honest, jobs these days are like those limited edition sneakers. They look great, they're hyped up, and before you know it, they're out of style. The world of work changes faster than your phone's software updates, and if you're not keeping up, you'll feel outdated faster than a MySpace page. That's why investing in transferable skills, the kind of skills that work anywhere, is like buying the ultimate lifetime membership for your career. Leadership, writing, data literacy, problem solving, these are the real power tools. They don't expire, they don't go out of fashion, and you can carry them from one industry to another like a Swiss Army knife for success. Here's the deal. Industries come and go, but human skills? They're forever. Think about leadership, for example. You can work at a tech startup, a hospital, or even a hot dog stand. Leadership matters everywhere. It's not about barking orders or having a fancy title. It's about inspiring people, guiding chaos, and helping others see what's possible when things get messy. A good leader doesn't just tell people what to do, they bring out the best in them. And trust me, whether you're managing a team of engineers or convincing your friends where to eat on a Friday night, leadership is the difference between order and total chaos. Now let's talk about writing, and no, I don't mean just emails that start with "per my last message." Writing is one of those sneaky superpowers that can change everything. It's not just about grammar or big words. It's about clarity, being able to explain complex ideas simply. It's about influencing people without even being in the room. You could be pitching a business idea, drafting a proposal, or sending that "I swear, I'm not mad" text. Good writing gets you what you want without the confusion. In any industry, if you can communicate clearly, you instantly rise above the noise. People who write well sound smart, even when they're just saying simple things, and that's a skill that pays off forever. Then there's data literacy. And before you roll your eyes, no, you don't have to be some math genius living inside a spreadsheet. Data literacy just means understanding how to read and make sense of numbers that tell a story. The world runs on data now. Whether you're in marketing, healthcare, finance, or fashion, data is the new currency. Being able to say, "Hey, these numbers actually mean something," is like having a GPS in a world where everyone else is guessing. You don't have to love statistics, but you should know how to use data to make smarter decisions, because the person who can combine logic with numbers, that's the person who gets promoted. And then there's problem solving, the skill that basically keeps civilization from collapsing. Every company, every boss, every industry out there has one thing in common: problems. Big ones, small ones, weird ones, they never stop coming. The people who can look at a mess, stay calm, and find a solution, they're golden. Problem solving isn't about being a genius. It's about staying curious, asking the right questions, and not panicking when stuff hits the fan. If you can think critically and stay cool under pressure, you're valuable anywhere. The beauty of these skills is that they travel with you. You could go from marketing to education or from engineering to entrepreneurship, and your toolkit still works. It's like building a career immune system. When industries shift, you don't panic, you adapt. Because the truth is, job-specific skills fade. The software you learned 5 years ago, obsolete. The system you mastered last year, probably replaced by AI. But your ability to lead, write, analyze, and solve? Untouchable. Think of transferable skills like compound interest for your career. You invest once, and they keep paying off forever. Every time you improve your communication, your thinking, your leadership, the return on that investment multiplies. You become more flexible, more confident, more future-proof. And in a world where job titles change faster than TikTok trends, being future-proof is priceless. Let's put it this way. Industries are like waves and transferable skills are your surfboard. You can't control the ocean, but you can learn how to ride it. Instead of drowning every time the tide changes, you just switch waves, stay balanced, and keep moving forward. You're not at the mercy of the market anymore. You become someone who can flow with it. Now, here's the funny part. People spend years chasing technical skills, but ignore the soft ones. Ironically, those so-called soft skills are the hardest to master, and the ones that make the biggest difference. You can teach someone to use Excel in a week, but teaching them how to communicate under pressure, or how to rally a team that's about to implode, that's art. That's leadership. And that's why people with transferable skills often end up being the ones who lead the people with technical ones. If you look at the most successful people in any field, they're not the ones who only know how to do one thing. They're the ones who can connect things, the writers who understand business, the leaders who understand psychology, the analysts who can tell a story through numbers. They've built skill sets that overlap and feed into each other. And that's the secret. The more connections you can make between different skills, the more irreplaceable you become. You don't need to be perfect at everything. You just need a foundation of skills that help you adapt. Leadership keeps you grounded in people. Writing helps you express ideas. Data literacy helps you make smart decisions. Problem solving helps you handle anything life throws at you. When you stack those together, you're basically unstoppable. And here's a truth bomb. Jobs can disappear, but skills turn you into opportunity magnets. When one door closes, you don't wait for another to open. You build your own door, install a window, and put a neon, open 24/7 sign on it. Because the person who can learn fast, communicate well, lead others, and solve problems, that person will always have options. The world doesn't need more people who just do what they're told. It needs thinkers, creators, fixers, leaders, people who can see patterns, connect ideas, and make things better no matter where they are. Transferable skills let you do exactly that. They make you flexible, valuable, and relevant no matter what the economy does next. So yeah, learn your job-specific stuff, that's fine. But don't stop there. Build your foundation. Strengthen your core. Invest in the skills that travel with you, because when the market shifts, and it will, those are the skills that'll keep you standing tall while everyone else scrambles for balance. In the end, transferable skills are your passport to freedom. They let you move from one job to another, one industry to another, without losing your edge. Because when you master the timeless stuff, leadership, writing, data literacy, problem solving, you don't just survive change. You profit from it. The world keeps spinning, technology keeps evolving, but you've built something unshakable. And that, my friend, is the best investment you'll ever make, because while industries might crash, the skills you've built to adapt, lead, and thrive will always keep you ahead of the curve. You ever notice how your comfort zone feels amazing, like that perfectly warm bed on a cold Monday morning? Yeah, it's cozy, it's familiar, it's safe, and it's also where dreams go to take long naps and never wake up. Let's be real, comfort zones are sneaky little traps disguised as peace of mind. At work, they show up as routines. Same tasks, same schedule, same people, let's circle back on that meetings. It all feels predictable, and that's exactly why it slowly kills your growth. Comfort zones are like those soft, slow-moving quicksands. They don't hurt at first, but before you know it, you're stuck in place, sinking in repetition, and wondering why you don't feel alive anymore. Routines are like autopilot, and sure, autopilot is fine when you're flying plane. But in life, it makes you stop noticing the view. You stop learning, stop trying new things, stop questioning what's possible. You just clock in, clock out, and repeat like a robot with a caffeine addiction. The problem is, comfort doesn't build character, discomfort does. Growth doesn't come from doing what you already know. It comes from doing what scares you, challenges you, and makes you feel slightly like you have no idea what you're doing. That feeling, that's not failure. That's progress wearing a disguise. Here's the truth. Your brain loves comfort. It's lazy like that. It says, hey, let's just stay where everything's predictable. No surprises, no stress. But your potential? Your potential lives across the street, past the do not enter sign, down the road of awkwardness, fear, and a few failed attempts. The only way to reach it is to stop listening to your brain's Netflix-level excuses and take the uncomfortable route. Every time you do something that makes you squirm a little, Giving a presentation, taking on a tough project, speaking up at a meeting, your brain literally rewires itself. You become sharper, more confident, and more adaptable. Growth doesn't happen by sitting still. It happens when you stretch. You've probably met people who've been in the same job for 10 years, but still act like it's their first week, and not in a good way. They've stopped evolving because they stopped being uncomfortable. They've built a cozy little fort out of routine, and now they live there. Safe? Sure. Growing? Nope. On the flip side, look at people who seem to be constantly improving. They're not necessarily smarter, they're just brave enough to step into uncomfortable situations and figure it out along the way. That's the secret. They don't wait until they're ready, they move before they are. You know how people say practice makes perfect? That's only half the truth. Uncomfortable practice makes perfect. Doing what you already know keeps you average. Doing what you don't know makes you evolve. Think about working out. Lifting the same light weights every day doesn't build muscle. It just keeps you toned. But lift something heavier, something that actually challenges your muscles. That's where the growth happens. The same goes for your career, your mindset, your creativity. If it doesn't make you sweat a little, it's not helping you grow. Comfort zones also give you this illusion of security. You tell yourself, I'm fine here. I know what I'm doing. Why risk messing things up? But the real danger isn't failure, it's stagnation. Because the world doesn't stop moving just because you do. Technology evolves, markets shift, industries change. If you're not learning, you're lagging. And the longer you stay still, the harder it gets to move later. Discomfort, on the other hand, keeps you flexible. It keeps your mind young. It teaches you to handle uncertainty. And in today's world, that's basically a survival skill. Here's the funny thing. The moments you remember most in life usually came from stepping out of your comfort zone. You don't look back fondly on the days you did exactly what you always do. You remember the day you took a risk, the day you spoke up, the day you failed spectacularly and learned something priceless from it. Discomfort makes good stories. Comfort just makes habits. And you can't inspire yourself or anyone else by living the same Monday 80 times in a row. Let's be honest, though, rejecting your comfort zone isn't glamorous. It feels awkward, uncomfortable, even scary. You'll have moments where you think, why am I doing this? But that's exactly how you know you're on the right track. Growth doesn't feel like success in the moment. It feels like confusion and effort. But that's where confidence is built. Every time you push through discomfort, you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. And suddenly, the things that used to terrify you become your new normal. That's how people evolve, one awkward step at a time. If you've ever switched jobs, learned a new skill, or started a project that scared you, you've already experienced this. The first few weeks are rough. You feel dumb, lost, out of place. But then something clicks. You get it. You grow into it. And once you do, it's easy again, which means, guess what? Time to find the next challenge. Growth is like leveling up in a video game. The enemies get harder because you're ready for more. If the game stays too easy, it gets boring. So if your work life feels too predictable, that's not success. That's a red flag that you've stopped growing. And no, rejecting comfort zones doesn't mean chaos 24/7. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow and go live in the wilderness with a laptop and a dream. It just means saying yes to things that stretch you, volunteering for a new project, learning a new skill, asking for feedback you might not want to hear, or even just breaking your routine a little. Growth doesn't always come from massive leaps. Sometimes it's just small steps into the unknown, repeated daily. Think of it like this. Comfort zones are like tiny, invisible cages. You built them to protect yourself from stress and failure, but after a while, they start protecting you from success, too. Discomfort, on the other hand, is like unlocking the door and realizing the world outside is way bigger than you thought. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. And here's a bonus. Discomfort is contagious in a good way. When you start pushing your limits, the people around you notice. You inspire them to do the same. One brave act can ripple through an entire team or company. Because when people see someone chasing growth instead of clinging to comfort, it reminds them that they can too. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I'm comfortable here, treat that as a warning sign. Because comfort might feel safe, but it's secretly stealing your potential. The magic of life happens outside that comfort zone, in the awkward, messy, uncertain parts. That's where innovation happens. That's where you find out what you're made of. And that's where real progress begins. At the end of the day, comfort zones are like soft pillows, great for resting, terrible for living. If you want to grow, you've got to trade some of that comfort for curiosity, courage, and chaos. Because discomfort doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're becoming. And one day, you'll look back and realize the scariest steps were the ones that built your best self. Alright, picture this. You walk into work every morning thinking, ugh, here we go again, like it's the Monday version of Groundhog Day. Same tasks, same people, same coffee that somehow always tastes like regret. But what if, and hear me out, your job isn't just your job? What if it's actually your classroom in disguise? What if instead of treating work like a routine you're forced to survive, you treated it like a lab where you get to experiment, learn, and grow, all while getting paid? Sounds way better than sitting in a boring classroom taking notes you'll never use, right? Turning your job into a classroom means shifting your mindset from, I have to do this, to, I get to learn from this. Every project, every problem, every awkward Zoom call is basically a lesson waiting to be learned. You just have to start seeing it that way. You're not just completing tasks, you're practicing. You're experimenting. You're testing ideas like a scientist in a lab coat, minus the goggles, unless that's your thing. The workplace is full of opportunities to learn new methods, explore different approaches, and figure out what actually works if you stop treating it like a routine and start treating it like a classroom. The cool thing is, you don't need a teacher or a syllabus. Life's already teaching you stuff every single day, especially when things go wrong. Because let's be honest, we don't learn much from things that go perfectly. We learn from messy stuff, the, oh crap, that didn't go as planned moments. When a project blows up or your idea gets shot down, that's not failure, that's feedback. It's a free lesson in disguise, and you don't even have to pay tuition. The only difference between people who grow and people who stagnate is how they handle those lessons. Some people complain, others take notes. Be the second kind. Let's say your boss assigns you a new project. You could do it the same old way you always do, just to get it over with. Or you could try something different. Test a new method, experiment with a new tool, get curious. Ask yourself, what can I learn here? Maybe you figure out a faster system, a better communication style, or a smarter way to solve the problem. Even if your idea fails, you still win, because now you know something you didn't know before. That's how pros think. They don't see tasks as chores, they see them as practice rounds for greatness. Think about it. Every time you do something at work, you're building skills you'll use for the rest of your life. Maybe you're learning how to lead people without making them want to strangle you. Maybe you're learning how to stay calm when deadlines are burning like fireworks. Maybe you're learning how to deal with difficult clients, which, let's face it, should earn you a medal. The point is, every situation at work, even the frustrating ones, is secretly teaching you something valuable if you pay attention. The best part about turning your job into a classroom is that it makes work way more interesting. Routine kills enthusiasm, but curiosity brings it back to life. When you treat work like a place to experiment, you stop just working for the weekend and start actually enjoying the process. Suddenly, that boring meeting becomes a chance to practice communication skills. That report you hate writing becomes an opportunity to master clarity and precision. That difficult coworker becomes your training partner in emotional intelligence. You're not just surviving work anymore, you're evolving through it. Here's the thing, you don't have to wait for permission to start learning. You can make any project a mini lab experiment for growth. Maybe you decide to practice leadership by mentoring someone new. Or maybe you test your creativity by redesigning how you present information. You can even make learning a game. Try asking yourself at the end of each day, what did I learn today that I didn't know yesterday? If the answer is nothing, it's time to switch things up. Because if you're not learning, you're just repeating. And yes, it's uncomfortable sometimes. Trying new methods means making mistakes. It means awkward moments and a few, well, that didn't work, experiences. But that's the beauty of it. Mistakes are just part of the class. Every successful person you admire is basically someone who failed 1,000 times and kept showing up for class anyway. They didn't skip the messy lessons. They took notes, adjusted, and kept experimenting. That's how they grew. The truth is, your job can either drain you or develop you, and the difference is how you approach it. If you treat it like a checklist, you'll get good at checking boxes. But if you treat it like a classroom, you'll get good at everything. You'll start to see opportunities where other people see obstacles. You'll find creativity in routine, lessons in mistakes, and potential in every challenge. That's how you turn ordinary work into extraordinary growth. Here's a little secret. People who approach their jobs this way become unstoppable. They're the ones who adapt when things change. They're the ones who keep moving up, even when the economy shifts or the industry evolves. Why? Because they've built the ultimate skill, the ability to learn on the job. They don't need new instructions or fancy degrees. They're constantly upgrading themselves just by paying attention. Think about how kids learn. They experiment, they mess up, they ask why a million times. That's how they grow so fast. Adults, on the other hand, stop asking questions. We get stuck thinking we're supposed to know it all. But the smartest people are the ones who never stop being curious. They treat every situation like a chance to figure something out. When you bring that kind of curiosity into your work, you turn even the most ordinary job into a playground for growth. So next time you get a new task, resist the urge to sigh and say, "Not this again." Instead, think, "All right, let's see what I can learn from this." You might discover a new skill, a hidden strength, or even a better way to do something everyone else thinks is boring. Over time, you'll start building a toolkit of real-world knowledge, stuff no classroom could have taught you. Because the best lessons don't come from textbooks, they come from experience, mistakes, and curiosity in action. And let's be honest, it's way more fun this way. You stop being a worker bee and start being a student of a game. You stop fearing challenges because now they're just pop quizzes that help you level up. You stop dreading change because you realize change is just a new chapter in the same classroom. When you approach work this way, you become resilient, creative, and kind of unstoppable. So yeah, your job might not look like classroom. There are no blackboards, no grades, no bell to signal lunch, sadly. But it's still teaching you something every day. Communication, patience, adaptability, problem-solving, leadership, innovation. Every day you show up, you're getting another lesson in how to become the best version of yourself. The only question is, are you paying attention? Because at the end of the day, your job isn't just about earning a paycheck, it's about earning growth. The office, the store, the studio, the laptop, whatever your workspace looks like, that's your classroom now. And if you keep showing up with curiosity, courage, and the willingness to learn something new, you'll graduate from every challenge with honors. Let's be honest, we live in a world obsessed with titles. People love slapping labels on themselves like their name tags at a corporate mixer. Hi, I'm a manager. I'm a senior associate. I'm the regional head of synergetic optimization. Sounds fancy, right? But strip away the title, and who are you really? Because here's the truth. Your job title might describe what you do, but it doesn't define who you are. The moment you start believing your value equals your title, you've basically handed your self-worth over to your company's HR department. And trust me, that's a dangerous move, especially since that same HR department might restructure you out of existence next quarter. Your worth isn't tied to what's written on your business card. It's in your ability to grow, adapt, create value, and keep evolving, even when life changes the script. You are not your job title. You are the person behind it. The thinker, the creator, the problem solver, the learner. Titles come and go faster than iPhone updates, but your capacity to reinvent yourself? That's forever. It's like your internal operating system, always updating, always learning, always ready to handle the next version of the world. Here's the thing. Titles make people feel secure. They make us feel important, respected, relevant. There's a certain comfort in being able to say, I'm a doctor, or I'm a CEO. It feels like an identity, like a badge of honor. But the problem is, when your identity depends on a title, you become fragile. Because the moment that title changes or disappears, your confidence can go down with it. You start asking, who am I without this? When the real question should be, who have I become because of what I've learned? Think about it, the world changes constantly. Entire industries rise and fall. Jobs that were hot a decade ago are now ancient history. If you hang your worth on a title, you're basically tying your identity to a moving train and hoping it never switches tracks. But if you hang your worth on your ability to evolve, you'll always land on your feet, no matter what train you end up on. Because the truth is, companies don't pay you for your title. They pay you for the value you create. Titles just make it look official. We've all met people who cling to their titles like their life jackets. I've been a director for 15 years. Great, but what have you learned in 15 years? Because the world doesn't care how long you've had the title. It cares how well you can adapt. If your job disappeared tomorrow, would you still be valuable? Would you still know how to think, solve, and create? That's the real test of worth. Titles might open doors, but your skills, curiosity, and mindset are what keep you in the room. When you separate who you are from what you do, something magical happens. You stop living in fear of change. You stop panicking when your job shifts or your title doesn't sound as impressive as someone else's. You realize that your power doesn't come from the letters next to your name. It comes from your growth. You become someone who doesn't just fill a role, you create roles. You see opportunities instead of obstacles. You don't need a fancy title to feel valuable because you already know your value lives inside you, not in your email signature. Think about the people who truly make an impact. They're rarely defined by their job titles. Elon Musk isn't just CEO of Tesla. He's an innovator, an experimenter, a dreamer who happens to run multiple companies. Oprah isn't just a talk show host. She's a storyteller, a leader, a builder of emotional connection. Their titles changed over time, but their ability to evolve and create value never did. That's the kind of identity you want, one that moves with you, not one that limits you. Titles can be temporary trophies. They look good, they feel good, but they can also become traps. The more you identify with your title, the harder it becomes to grow beyond it. You start saying things like, "That's not my job," or "I don't do that." You shrink your potential to fit inside a label someone else gave you. But when you drop the label, you start exploring again. You say, "Sure, let's try that," or "I don't know how yet, but I'll figure it out." That's where real evolution happens. It's funny how kids never define themselves by what they do. Ask a 5-year-old who they are, and they'll say something wild like, "I'm a superhero," or "I'm a dragon tamer." They don't care about titles, they care about possibility. Somewhere along the way, adults forget that. We trade imagination for business cards. But here's the thing. The real superpower isn't a job title. It's the ability to grow, adapt, and create something out of nothing. It's learning faster than your environment changes. And let's be honest, titles can vanish overnight. Companies rebrand. Teams restructure. Economies crash. AI shows up and starts doing half the things you used to do. If your self-worth is attached to your title, that kind of change will crush you. But if your worth is built on your capacity to learn and evolve, you'll just shrug and say, "Cool, time to level up." That's the difference between people who panic and people who pivot. The world belongs to the ones who keep learning, not the ones who cling to labels. It's like this. Your title is the outfit, but your growth is your actual skin. Outfits change. Styles evolve. But your core, your mindset, creativity, adaptability, that's what lasts. You can lose your job and still not lose yourself. Because you're not defined by your position. You're defined by your progress. Every new challenge is just another upgrade to your system. Every skill you learn adds another layer of value that no one can take from you. Now, that doesn't mean titles don't matter at all. They can reflect milestones, achievements, and experience, and that's great. Celebrate them, but don't let them cage you. The moment you start thinking, "I am my title," you limit what you can become next. A title should be a snapshot of where you are right now, not a sentence about who you'll always be. The goal isn't to hold on to a title forever. It's to keep earning new ones, not from your boss, but from your own growth. And when you truly get this, life gets lighter. You stop comparing your title to other people's. You stop measuring success by how impressive your LinkedIn headline looks. You start focusing on value, what you bring to the table, what you build, what you learn. Because titles fade, but value echoes. The people who keep evolving never run out of opportunities. They become the kind of people who don't need a title to make an impact. Their work speaks for itself. So the next time someone asks, "What do you do?" maybe answer differently. Don't just drop your title like it's your entire identity. Say what you love doing. Say what you're building, what you're learning, what you're becoming. Because those are the things that make you valuable, not the label, but the growth behind it. At the end of the day, titles come and go like seasons. You might be a manager today, an entrepreneur tomorrow, a mentor next year. But who you are, the learner, the builder, the problem solver, the creator, that part stays with you forever. So wear your titles lightly. They're just chapters in your story, not the title of the book. And as long as you keep evolving, the story never ends. It just keeps getting better. You know what's wild? Most people treat their jobs like the be-all, end-all of their lives. Like if their company ever disappeared, they just cease to exist, poof. Gone like an expired Netflix subscription. But here's the real deal. Your job is only one piece of the puzzle. It pays the bills, sure, but it's not supposed to define every ounce of your identity or creativity. The best version of you doesn't live inside your 9 to 5. It lives outside it. And that's where outside projects come in. Side hustles, volunteering gigs, creative pursuits, they're not just extra work. They're like the gym for your soul and your skill set. Let's be honest, most jobs, no matter how exciting at first, eventually fall into routine. You start out fired up, learning everything, and then 6 months later, you're basically running on autopilot. You know every button to press, every email to send, every meeting that could have been an email. You could practically do your job with one eye closed and a podcast playing in the background. That's when you start feeling that little itch, that craving for something more stimulating, something that actually challenges you again. That's your brain saying, hey, can we do something interesting before we turn into a potato? Building something outside your job, whether it's starting a small business, writing a blog, volunteering at an animal shelter, or even learning how to DJ, reignites that spark. It reminds you that you're not just a job title or a cog in a machine. You're a creator, a builder, a person with layers and untapped potential. When you invest time in side projects, you're basically saying, I'm not waiting for permission to grow, I'll build my own playground. And that's powerful. The cool thing about outside projects is that they teach you skills your main job never will. You learn how to manage time, market yourself, take risks, solve weird problems, and keep promises to yourself. You stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner. Even if your side project never makes a single dime, it's still worth more than you realize because it expands who you are and how you think. Let's say you start a podcast. You suddenly have to learn about audio editing, storytelling, marketing, and consistency. Or maybe you start selling art prints online. Boom, you're learning e-commerce, design, branding, customer service, and social media. None of that may be part of your real job, but here's the secret. Every skill you build outside work makes you 10 times more valuable inside work. You become the kind of person who brings fresh ideas to the table, who can adapt fast, who can make things happen. You're not just doing tasks, you're innovating. And innovation is the modern-day superpower. Side hustles are like having a second classroom, except you get to design the curriculum. You choose what excites you, and you get instant feedback from the real world. Unlike in school, there's no teacher grading you. Life does that. You try, you fail, you adjust, and boom, you grow. And the best part? It's all on your terms. No office politics, no corporate buzzwords, no PowerPoint marathons. Just you, your ideas, and the courage to build something out of thin air. Now, volunteering, that's another underrated growth accelerator. You might think volunteering is just about helping others, and yes, it's deeply meaningful, but it's also an incredible teacher. You learn empathy, leadership, teamwork, patience, skills no textbook can truly teach. Plus, it connects you with people from different walks of life, which broadens your perspective like nothing else. Helping out at a community project or mentoring students can reveal strengths you never knew you had. You might even discover a calling that shifts your whole career direction. And then there's creative pursuits, painting, writing, music, filmmaking, photography, anything that lets your brain play. Creativity is mental oxygen. It keeps your imagination alive in a world that loves to suffocate it with spreadsheets and deadlines. You don't need to be good at it, you just need to do it. Creativity trains your brain to see patterns, make connections, and find solutions, all of which make you better at literally everything else. There's this old school idea that you should focus on one thing, pick a lane, and stay there forever. That's outdated advice from a world that doesn't exist anymore. Today, the people who thrive are the ones who explore multiple lanes and build bridges between them. Your side hustle teaches you one thing. Your volunteer work teaches you another. Your main job teaches something else. And together, those experiences make you unstoppable. You become a Swiss Army knife of skills, adaptable and ready for anything. But let's address the big excuse. I don't have time. Look, nobody has time. You make time for what matters. The average person spends hours scrolling through social media or watching random shows they don't even like. Cut out just 1 hour a day of that, and you've got time to build something real. Start small, one post, one sketch, one idea, one tiny step. The goal isn't to quit your job overnight. It's to create a second stream of meaning in your life. And don't underestimate how much confidence you build from doing things outside work. When your entire sense of accomplishment depends on your job, one bad day at work can ruin your mood. But when you've got a project of your own, something that's yours, you take back control. You stop depending on your boss's approval for validation. You start creating your own wins. Even if it's something as small as finishing a short story or launching a YouTube video, it builds pride that nobody can take away from you. Sometimes those outside projects even become your main thing one day. That little blog turns into a full business. That volunteer gig becomes your new career. That hobby turns into something that pays your bills. You never know where your side project will lead, but one thing's for sure, it will always lead you back to yourself. The funny part, Once you start building out side projects, your main job starts to feel lighter too. You stop seeing it as a cage and start seeing it as a resource. You bring back lessons, ideas, and energy from your side world, and suddenly you're performing better at work too. You're sharper, more creative, and more motivated because you're not relying on your job to give your life meaning anymore. You've built that meaning yourself. So don't wait for your job to allow you to grow. Growth doesn't need permission. Start something, anything outside of work. Paint, code, volunteer, teach, bake, write, build, film, design, invent. Just do something that makes you come alive. Because that's where the real magic happens, not inside the cubicle, but outside it, where curiosity and creativity collide. At the end of the day, outside projects aren't distractions, they're your evolution in disguise. They help you discover who you are beyond the paycheck, what you're capable of when no one's watching, and how big your potential really is. Your job might give you stability, but your outside projects give you wings. And if you keep building those wings long enough, one day you might just look down and realize you were never meant to stay on the ground anyway.